Welcome to Work World Writing. Before we look at today's article, I just want to encourage you, if you are an instructor, to get your students to find writing online, from newspapers or articles, and have them send it in to you as an instructor. Put it up in front of the class and really pick apart that writing with the class. It just creates some of my best classes have happened because of that, and I guess it's just better than turning to the next chapter in the textbook or the next photocopy and things get mundane and predictable, but usually you're dealing with a pretty interesting article, the students are engaged, and just produces wonderful classes. And that's what's happened here with this article that I'm about to show you today. Alright, today we're looking at an article in Canadian Geographic magazine. It's called How Rare Are Albino Moose? And it's a tough article. It's a tough read. There's lots of complex sentences in here, and so today I'm going to color these sentences, or I'm going to identify the parts of the sentences, and that's going to give me a language to talk about talk about this writing, and it's also going to help me comprehend the article itself. I'm going to read through just a few paragraphs so you get an idea of the kind of writing I'm talking about. I call this complex writing. So it goes like this. Just how rare was the albino moose that hunters shot in Cape Breton, Nova Scotia in October? Rare enough that Vincent Crichton, a former Manitoba conservation manager whose enthusiasm for the species led him to being dubbed Dr. Moose, has never seen one, despite growing up near Foylet, Ontario, a small community that he says is a hotbed for albino moose sightings. While some have spotted albino moose, Crichton says he has records of sightings being reported from Newfoundland to Alaska and a handful of anecdotes about hunters shooting the animal. The truth is that spotting any albino animal is uncommon. Outside of certain species, such as Siamese cats, which are nearly all born with genes related to albinism, the genetic condition tends to be rare in the animal kingdom. Murray Brilliant, the director of the Center of Human Genetics at the University of Wisconsin and an expert on albinism, says that while albinism can occur in just about every kind of animal, the absence of pigmentation varies greatly among individuals in any species. Brilliant says there are certain incidents where a lack of pigmentation becomes more common when the isolated population arises from a limited number of individuals, such as Kermode or spirit bears in British Columbia's Great Bear Rainforest. It's believed only 500 of these white bears, which are actually a subspecies of black bear, are left in British Columbia. Although they are not albinos, their white fur comes from a recessive gene that's passed on from both parents. Okay, I'm going to stop reading, but you get the idea. It's a complex piece of writing. So now what I would do with my students is I would color this article. And so I'm going to just pause the video. I'm going to color it because we don't have time, and then I'll pick it up in just a second. Alright, I finished coloring this piece of writing, or identifying the parts of the sentences. Orange is an add-on, purple is an interruption, and blue is an introduction, and the black parts is just the main parts of the sentence. And you'll notice that there's actually more color than there is black parts. I would say too much color. In fact, that's the name of the mini lesson that I give to my students, that some writers just write with too much color. The more color you have in your sentences, the more complex they're going to be. And in this case, we have sometimes multiple add-ons, multiple interruptions, making the sentences even harder and harder to read. And so that's one thing I tell my students when they go and color their own writing. If they're having a tough time coloring it, or there's too much color in their sentences, it might be hard for the reader to understand the first time through. But here's something that's really neat. After I've colored these sentences, I can actually reread this article and just not read any of the colored parts, and the article will make perfect sense and help me understand the article even better. So listen to this now as I read it with no color involved. Just how rare was the albino moose that hunters shot in Cape Breton? Rare enough that Vince Crichton has never seen one. The truth is that spotting any albino animal is uncommon. Outside of certain species, the genetic condition tends to be rare in the animal kingdom. The absence of pigmentation varies greatly among individuals in any species. Alright, you get the idea, but as you can see, color, it does make writing more interesting, but it's not actually necessary. And I know that I've colored my writing and other people's writing correctly when I just read the black parts and it makes perfect sense. Also, when I read without the color, it usually increases my comprehension of that piece of writing. These are all great things to do with your students. I hope you do them. It just gives them a great language to talk about writing. It improves their own writing and improves their comprehension all around. Thanks for watching.